Pickle, it's the day after Monday. And on the day after Monday,
TUESWAYS.
we always talk with the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer, the voice of the Texas Longhorns. We're pleased to be joined by Craig Way. Mr. Way, how are you?
I'm good. How are you two today?
Well, I'll defer to Pickle. How are you doing?
I'm well.
Okay, good. Just making sure.
TUESWAYS are my favorite.
I want to make sure you get in on this. We'll leave it open to this. How was Tuscaloosa?
It was hot, enjoyable, exhausting, all of those things. It was a lot of fun. It was Pickle and I were just talking during the break. I figured I'd sleep when I got back because I didn't get a chance to sleep Saturday after the game. It was a 50-mile drive back to the hotel in bumper-to-bumper traffic at midnight. So I got back to the hotel after 1 a.m. in Birmingham, and my flight was leaving at 5. So I just, didn't do that. Just threw everything in a bag and showered and changed. Went to the airport. I go to the ticket counter, get in line, and there's one guy in front of me. I thought, okay, that's nice. He had a cart. There were several boxes stacked on the cart, and each one said human tissue, rush, fragile or something like that. And I thought, this is completing the weekend. So, but it was good. It was a good weekend.
Okay, Craig. I'm glad that you ran into an organ donor on the way back from Tuscaloosa after
boxes of it too. Boxes. I mean, it could have been more than just organs in there, for all I know.
God. Okay. This let's talk some Texas high school football.
Why not?
Looking back on week 3, because I know that you're a sicko and you were sitting in your hotel in Birmingham following the action on Texas high school football despite being outside of the state pounds. One of the things that I was struck by on Friday night was the number of games that I came away feeling pretty good about all the teams involved, whether they're on the winning end or the losing end. Games like Brock and Wimberley spring to mind. Timpson and Dangerfield, Refugio and Edna, cross-classification matchups where I feel like both teams acquitted themselves well. Did you get that kind of feeling from the Friday night and I suppose Thursday night goings on as well?
Absolutely. And when you said one thing I was struck by, the first thing that went in my mind was hopefully not lightning, since we had the storm delays there, and some teams did well enough coming out of those storm delays. Other ones kind of gathered themselves a little bit. Liberty Hill was one of those in gathering themselves after a delay down here to rally back to beat Georgetown. But I was also impressed with Lake Highlands whenever Highland Park waiting it out, and then they took a punch from Highland Park and won that game coming back. That's also, Tep, why I'm a little bit intrigued by this matchup between Lake Highlands and Jesuit this week. To see how that rolls out. So, I'm with you on those other ones. There are some outliers. There are some anomalies. For example, one of the big games down here in the greater Austin area every year, regardless of records, the old throw the record books out the window games, is the battle for the bell. It's Round Rock against Westwood. Mm-hmm. And you would be looking at it, the mirror in an inverse, if you look to see Round Rock at 3-0 and Westwood's 0-3, and the computer's got I saw the computer likes the 0-3 Dragons by 1 point in that. So we'll get better indications from some of those teams down here in the greater Austin area. Vista Ridge at Cedar Park is one of those, I think. There's a couple other teams like that we'll get a little better read on those teams. And I think that goes statewide as well now that we're starting to get headlong into district play. It happened last week with some of the 19 districts. Now, unless you're in a smaller district, everybody's on board with league competition now.
Talking with Craig Way, Texas High School Hall of Famer here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation, #TF Today. Craig, there's also a phenomenon that happens this time of year where we get two or three games worth of data and maybe a team's even undefeated or looking very good, and yet I feel like we don't know a ton about them. And I'll give you a few of the examples that spring to mind. Gunner is one of them, 3-0, rolling, but I'm not sure how much we know about him. Another one would be an example like Mart, which I think is kind of par for the course for this time of year, although they get a big test with Centerville this week. And then another one down in your neck of the woods, I'm not sure how much we know about Austin Westlake quite yet. Obviously, they've got the win over Fort Bend Ridge Point, but they've been essentially a dominant force throughout all the teams that, in my opinion, they outclass. It does strike me that this time of year you do run into a kind of a sophomoric false sense of security of saying, oh, I know what these teams are, and yet that could end up biting you coming down the stretch here as we get more and more data. Are there teams like that you feel like you're still waiting to find out exactly what these teams are in 2023?
Well, to your point, I think a lot of folks down in the Austin area would say you can almost, not every year, but almost make that same statement about Westlake every year through the first 3 weeks or so, because they don't seem to be really challenged no matter who they're facing. And, the Lake Travis game is coming up in a couple of weeks. So we'll find out 3 weeks. We'll find out about that. But, there's Lake Travis would be one of those teams, I think, for me, down in this area. Their defense looks really, really good. Their offense looks good enough to keep winning and good enough to trample teams that just aren't up to snuff, like a Buda Johnson facing them last week. I am intrigued by Mart, as you pointed out. They get a matchup with Centerville. Centerville already passed one big test with the win over Crawford. And now we get a chance to see if they're up to it, because they were not up to the challenge last year against Mart. But again, how much do we know about Mart right now? And that's where I think this game this week, I think, will tell us quite a bit about the Panthers as well.
Talk with Craig Wade, Texas High School Hall of Famer here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation, hashtag TF Today. All right, one more question about high school, and then I do want to ask you about the Longhorns a little bit. And that is, we'll do the meanest thing we do to each other each week, which is asking you to teleport to a game. But I won't just open it up to the whole state. I'll give you 3 games, and you can teleport to one of them. You can either go Friday night to Gunner for Brock and Gunner. You can go Friday night to, let's say, San Antonio for Midland Legacy visiting Cibolo Steel, or you can go Friday night to Hawley for a matchup of defending 2A champs as Albany visits Hawley. Which of those 3 games is Craig Wade teleporting to?
It's going to be the middle one, and I'll get to it in a minute. Let me first say, going back to answer your question about Gunner, to me, is a lot in the same category with Westlake. We know they're a known commodity. We know what Jake Vazell is going to have, no matter what the competition is. Now, do they step up in competition this week? Absolutely. Brock will give them a good run for the money, just like they did Wimberley. That was a very, very entertaining ball game. Is Brock good enough to beat them? They are, and so we do find out more about them. So that is an intriguing matchup there. The one in San Antonio kind of intrigues me, if only because the Basin schools are having to do a lot more traveling on these non-district games because of the downsizing of 6A districts out in West Texas, as we know. I mean, Permian's got back-to-back weeks in the Super Syntax. Did they just hang out with Chip and JoJo all during the week? And so that they get Harker, and then so you've got this Midland Legacy matchup with Steele. I think we learn more about both of those teams. I think Clint Hartman's got a good ball club. We find out some more. Steele has the loss to Lake Travis, but it's a real good team, as we know. That's the one that probably raises my eyebrow the most.
And finally, I do want to ask you about your other job, because you are the voice of the Texas Longhorns. Obviously, Texas coming off of a big win on the road at Alabama. But I want to ask you a little bit about this weekend, because there's a storm rolling into town from Big Sky Country in the form of the 2-0 Wyoming Cowboys, and there may be I think there's a sense of potential doom if you look ahead and look past what is a pretty decent Wyoming team. Whenever you are around the team and hearing Coach Sarkisian and the players talk, do you get the sense that they have moved on from what was a really big win on Saturday and are now pretty focused on what is, I think, a pretty dangerous Cowboys team?
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think they have. You know how it is in this town down here, Chap. They are big kingmakers in this town, and they are big pitchforks and torches at the door if things aren't going well. And so they're making kings this week, and they're very, very excited. The fans I'm talking about, but that's fans being fans. And there's media has its culpability as well. Quinn Ewers, I think, has come in for 4 National Player of the Week honors this week. But the great thing about Quinn, and I've noticed this from talking to him and seeing him last year, there's been a little bit of a metamorphosis physically. Yes, the mullet's gone, the beard's gone, and he's dropped some weight. But the attitude adjustment, I think, is much, much different than it was. The perception a lot of folks had about him, there may have been some validity to it when he left Carroll to go to Ohio State. When he came in last year, he was a good team guy. He's a great team guy now. And I think his teammates are also understanding the danger. Here's Jalen Ford, the preseason Defensive Player of the Year in the Big 12, tweeting out yesterday, "I've seen that cheese. It's poison," he said. Talking about the rat poison, about buying into how good are we. Mac Brown used to say, when you've got that sugar on your back, that you've got to get it off of there. So, but Mac used to say this, and I think this holds true with Sark and the players. They're in their own little concentric circle. They go about their business. They were working hard yesterday morning on the practice field, and they'll work hard this week. And Sark, I know, would agree with you. He has a lot of respect for Craig Bowl. The guy was on that Nebraska staff for years, won multiple national championships at the FCS level, and North Dakota State has done a solid job at Wyoming. And he has a lot of respect for him. It's a team, a lot of 4th year, 5th year, and even some 6th year seniors. It's a veteran team. They play some good defense, so they know this isn't just show up with the Longhorn on the side of the helmet and win. If you do, you're asking for trouble. There's also a chance, Ted, we could get some rain. That's right, rain. Your war on weather would include rain in Austin, possibly on Saturday night. So there could be extraneous factors that are inserted into this ball game, and the Longhorns know they have to be buttoned up.
He's Craig Way. He's the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer and the co-host of High School Scoreboard live on Valley Sports Southwest. Hear him on the Craig Way Show, but not today. I've been told not today. Still listen to the AM 1300 The Zone, but don't expect to hear Craig Way's dulcet tones. But you can hear him tomorrow 2 to 4 on the Craig Way Show on AM 1300 in Austin, and you can hear him on the call of Texas and Wyoming on Saturday. Craig, appreciate your time, my friend, and I will talk to you tomorrow, and then I'll see you on Friday.
I look forward to you being on the show where I can be every bit as cruel to you as you are to me.
There he goes. Craig Way, the Texas High School Hall of Famer, joins us every Tuesday here on Texas Football Today. Appreciate his time. Had to ask him a little bit about Texas Longhorns. Everyone's talking about it, and there's few guys who know the Texas Longhorns inside and out, like Craig Way. So why not get some insights from him? We appreciate his time as always. Hey, thanks for watching this clip here on YouTube. If you like this kind of stuff and you want more of it, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And remember, you can watch us live every weekday at noon at TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, or here on YouTube. And if you want more of the best coverage of football in the state of Texas, check out TexasFootball.com and become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football Insider at TexasFootball.com/subscribe.